The VIP section of Lotus Garden was a world unto itself. Dim lighting, velvet booths, and the kind of silence that came with power and money. Kiana Davis balanced a tray of expensive whiskey as she navigated between tables, her eyes trained on the floor. She'd learned early in her 3 months here that the less you saw, the safer you were. But tonight, safety shattered the moment she glanced toward the entrance. Travis. Her blood turned to ice. Her ex-boyfriend stood at the host stand, his predatory gaze sweeping the restaurant. She'd moved across the city to escape him, changed her number, her route to work, everything. Yet here he was, and from the set of his jaw, he wasn't leaving without answers. Kiana's heart hammered. The exit was blocked. Mrs. Park was nowhere in sight. Panic clawed at her throat as Travis's eyes began to scan the dining room. Then she saw him, the man in the corner booth. Dark suit, darker eyes, an aura that made even the other VIP guests keep their distance. Without thinking, Kiana made a choice that would change everything. Yun Tai-yang was accustomed to interruptions. In his line of work, they were inevitable, some welcome, most not. But the woman who suddenly appeared at his table and slid onto his lap without invitation was something entirely new. "Please," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Just for a minute. Please." Tae-Yang's hand had already moved to the gun at his hip when her words registered. His 4 security guards tensed around the booth, hands inside their jackets. Lee Hyun-woo, seated across from him, was halfway out of his seat. But Tae-Yang raised one finger, halting them all. The woman in his lap was black, beautiful in a way that had nothing to do with the expensive clothes or jewelry the women in his world usually wore. Her natural curls were pulled back in a practical bun, her server's uniform simple and worn at the edges. She smelled like jasmine and desperation. "An interesting approach," Tae-Yang said in accented English, his voice low and controlled. His eyes tracked across the restaurant, analyzing threats. "Who are you hiding from?" Kiana's breath caught. She'd expected anger, violence even, not this calm, measured response. She risked a glance over her shoulder and saw Travis arguing with the host, who was clearly outmatched. "My ex," she admitted, her hands gripping the edge of the table so hard her knuckles paled against her brown skin. "He's dangerous. I'm sorry, I didn't know where else—" "Look at me," Tae-Yang commanded softly. She turned, and for the first time, really saw him. Korean features, sharp as cut glass, dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble. But it was his eyes that held her, dark, intelligent, and currently fixed on her with an intensity that made her forget how to breathe. "What's your name?" "Kiana. Kiana Davis." "Kiana." He tested the name, his pronunciation careful. "I am Tai-Yang. And you work here?" She nodded, hyper-aware of where her body pressed against his. The solid muscle of his thighs beneath her, the expensive fabric of his suit jacket, the heat radiating from him despite his controlled demeanor. "Your ex," Tae-Yang continued, his gaze never leaving hers even as he tracked Travis's position in his peripheral vision. "He put his hands on you." It wasn't a question. Kiana's silence was answer enough. Something shifted in Tae-Yang's expression, a darkening that made the temperature in the booth seem to drop. He lifted one hand and Kiana flinched instinctively. But his touch when it came was gentle, his fingers barely grazing her cheek as he turned her face, revealing a fading bruise near her jawline that her makeup couldn't quite hide. "Hyun-woo," Tae-Yang said in Korean, his voice like silk over steel. "The man at the entrance, make him leave permanently." Lee Hyun-woo stood immediately, buttoning his jacket. "How permanent?" "Frightened enough to never return. But alive. For now." Hyun-woo nodded and gestured to 2 of the guards. They moved through the restaurant like shadows, purposeful and silent. Kiana watched with wide eyes. "What are you—" "Solving your problem," Tae-Yang said simply. His hand settled on her waist, not possessive, but steadying. "How long have you been running from him?" 6 months. I thought I'd finally lost him. You came to Koreatown to hide. I needed work. Mrs. Park doesn't ask questions." A ghost of a smile touched Tai-Yang's lips. "Mrs. Park is wise. She knows whose territory this is." The implication hung in the air. Kiana's eyes widened as pieces clicked together, the deference the other diners showed him, the security detail, the way even the restaurant owner seemed to orbit around his presence. "Oh God," she breathed, "you're—" "Someone who doesn't appreciate men who hurt women in my establishments," Tae-Yang finished smoothly. "Your ex is being escorted out. He won't trouble you again." Through the restaurant windows, Kiana watched Travis being led, almost carried, to a black SUV by men who clearly knew how to handle resistance. Travis's face was a mask of terror. Relief flooded through her so suddenly, her eyes burned with unshed tears. "Thank you, I don't know how to—" "You can start by telling me why you thought climbing onto a stranger's lap was your best option." Heat flooded Kiana's cheeks. "I panicked. You were the only person in the restaurant Travis would be too afraid to approach. Smart," Tae-Yang acknowledged. "And brave, or foolish. I haven't decided which." "Probably both," Kiana admitted. She started to stand, suddenly aware of how inappropriate this was. "I should get back to work before Mrs. Park." Tae-Yang's hand on her waist tightened fractionally, keeping her in place. "Mrs. Park works for me. You're not in trouble." "Still, I should—" "Kiana." The way he said her name made her stomach flip. "You're shaking." She was. The adrenaline was crashing, leaving her trembling. Tae-Yang reached past her for his whiskey glass and pressed it into her hands. "Drink." "I can't. I'm working." "You just sat on a Mafia boss's lap to escape your abusive ex. I think the rules can bend tonight." The casual confirmation of what he was should have terrified her. Instead, Kiana found herself taking a small sip of the whiskey. It burned perfectly, grounding her. "Thank you," she said again, softer this time. Tae-Yang studied her with those unnerving dark eyes. "How old is your son?" Kiana's head snapped up. "How did you—" He nodded toward her wrist, where a small braided bracelet with wooden letter beads spelled out Isaiah. 8, she said carefully. "His name is Isaiah. And his father. Not in the picture. It's just us." Something flickered across Tae-Yang's expression. Understanding, perhaps, or recognition. "You work here 3 nights a week. Where else?" "How do you know that?" "I notice things, people, especially people who work as hard as you do." Kiana's breath caught. She'd been invisible her whole life, just another server, another single mother struggling to survive. The idea that this powerful man had noticed her before tonight was unsettling and thrilling in equal measure. "I work at a cafe during the day," she admitted. "And I do some freelance translation work online when Isaiah's asleep." "Translation? What languages?" "English, French, and Korean." Tae-Yang's eyebrows rose slightly, the first real surprise she'd seen on his face. "You speak Korean?" "My best friend in college was Korean. She taught me. I kept learning after she moved back to Seoul." Kiana bit her lip. "I actually understand most of what you said to your friend. About Travis." A slow smile spread across Tae-Yang's face, transforming his features from coldly handsome to devastatingly attractive. "Do you now?" "I should probably mention I also understood you discussing that shipment problem last week when I was serving your table." The smile vanished. Danger crackled in the air. "I didn't tell anyone," Kiana added quickly. "I would never. I just learned to keep my head down and my mouth shut. It's how you survive." Tae-Yang was silent for a long moment, his hand still resting on her waist, his expression unreadable. Then he did something that surprised them both. He laughed. It was a low, rich sound that seemed rusty from disuse. "You are either the bravest or most foolish woman I've ever met, Kiana Davis. I'm starting to think it's definitely both. Hyunwoo is going to be furious when I tell him we've had a security leak for months." "It wasn't a leak," Kiana protested. "I would never—" "I know." Tae-Yang's voice gentled. "You have honest eyes. It's rare in my world." The moment stretched between them, awareness crackling like electricity. Kiana was suddenly conscious of every point of contact, his hand on her waist, her hip pressed against his stomach, the way his breath stirred the loose curls at her temple. "I should really get back to work," she said, but didn't move. "Yes," Tae-Yang agreed, but neither did he. The spell broke when Hyunwoo returned, sliding back into the booth with the air of someone who'd just completed an unpleasant but necessary task. "It's handled, Hyung-nim," he said in Korean, then noticed Kiana still seated on his boss's lap. His eyebrows shot up. "Am I interrupting?" "Miss Davis was just thanking me for handling her ex-boyfriend situation," Tae-Yang replied smoothly, also in Korean. "I'm sure she was very grateful," Hyunwoo said with barely concealed amusement. "She also speaks fluent Korean and has been understanding our conversations for months." Hyunwoo's expression went from amused to shocked to calculating in rapid succession. "That's problematic. Or useful," Tae-Yang countered. He finally released Kiana's waist, helping her stand with unexpected gentleness. "Miss Davis, would you bring us another bottle of the hibiki, and perhaps join us for a moment when you return?" It was phrased as a request, but Kiana heard the command underneath. "Of course." She walked toward the bar on unsteady legs, feeling Tae-Yang's eyes on her the entire way. Mrs. Park materialized beside her, The older Korean woman's expression troubled. "Kiana, she said quietly. "What did you do?" "I think I either made the best or worst decision of my life," Kiana admitted. "I'm still not sure which." Kiana returned to the booth with the Hibiki whiskey, her hands steady despite her racing heart. Tae-yang gestured to the seat beside him, and she slid in, hyper-aware of the three men watching her. "Your ex-boyfriend has been given a clear message," Tae-yang began, pouring whiskey into 4 glasses. "He's been informed that you're under my protection now. If he comes near you or your son, the consequences will be severe." "Under your protection?" Kiana echoed. "I don't understand." "It's simple. Travis Bennett has connections to the Southside crew. Small-time criminals, but dangerous enough. Now that we've discouraged him, his associates might become interested in why." Yun-woo leaned forward. "Word travels fast in our world. By tomorrow morning, everyone will know Yun Tae-yang personally intervened for a restaurant server. People will ask questions." "What kind of questions?" Kiana's stomach tightened. "The kind that make you a target," Tae-yang said bluntly. "If rival organizations think you matter to me, they'll try to use you. But I don't matter to you, we just met." "They don't know that." Tae-yang's dark eyes held hers. "Which means you need protection until the situation stabilizes." "I can't afford—" "You're not paying for it. This is my responsibility. I drew attention to you by helping you." Kiana's mind raced. "For how long?" "A few weeks. Maybe a month. We'll see how things develop." "A month?" Kiana's voice rose slightly. "I have a son, a life. I can't just—" "Which is exactly why you need protection." Tae-yang's voice was patient but firm. "Isaiah goes to PS 128, correct? He walks home with the Johnson's daughter after school. You pick him up at 6 p.m. when your cafe shift ends." Kiana went cold. "How do you know all that?" "I know everything that happens in my territory, including which single mothers are working themselves to exhaustion to provide for their children." It should have felt invasive. Instead, for reasons Kiana didn't want to examine, it felt like being seen. "What exactly does protection mean?" "Starting tomorrow you'll have a security detail. Nothing obvious. We don't want to scare Isaiah, but someone will always be watching." "And what do you want in return?" Kiana asked carefully. In her experience, powerful men never gave without expecting something back. Tae-yang smiled slightly. "Your linguistic skills, for one. I have business dealings that would benefit from a translator I can trust. Someone who isn't part of the organization. Someone who has no reason to betray me. Except that you're coercing me. Am I?" Tae-yang's voice was soft, dangerous. "You're free to refuse. Walk away right now. But understand that Travis and his friends will still know you caught my attention. The only difference is you'll be unprotected when they come looking." It was a neat trap and they both knew it. "How much does translation work pay?" Kiana asked instead. Yun-woo choked on his whiskey. Even Tae-yang looked surprised. "You're negotiating. I don't take charity. If I'm providing a service, I expect fair compensation." Tae-yang's smile widened into something genuine. $500 an hour, plus a security detail that will cost you nothing. Kiana's cafe job paid $15 an hour. 500 was more than she made in a week. "That's too much. That's what I pay for skilled, trustworthy work. Take it or leave it." She should leave it. Every instinct screamed that getting involved with a mafia boss was insanity, but 500 an hour could mean she wouldn't have to work herself into exhaustion, could mean Isaiah could have new shoes that actually fit, could mean they could finally move out of their cramped studio apartment. "I have conditions," Kiana said. Yun-woo muttered something in Korean about brave or crazy women. Tae-yang silenced him with a look. "Name them." "Isaiah never knows about any of this. As far as he's concerned, I got a better paying office job." "Agreed. I won't translate anything that involves hurting people." "Define hurting." "I won't help you plan violence. I won't be part of anything that gets innocent people killed." Tae-yang considered this. "Most of what I need translated is business contracts and financial documents. Occasionally territorial negotiation terms. Nothing you would find morally objectionable." "And if I do find something objectionable? Then we discuss it, like professionals." He extended his hand. "Do we have an agreement?" Kiana looked at his hand, elegant, strong, with a small scar across the knuckles that spoke of past violence. She thought of Isaiah's 2 small shoes, the overdue electric bill, the way Travis's face had looked when those men took him away. She shook his hand. "Good," Tae-yang said. "Now finish your shift. Tomorrow evening come to this address." He produced a business card from his jacket. 7 p.m. Bring Isaiah." "What?" No, I said, your son needs to meet his security team in a context that won't frighten him. We'll tell him you've been hired for office translation work by a Korean businessman, and that sometimes you'll need to work from my office where I can provide childcare. It's close enough to the truth. It was logical. It was also terrifying how quickly he'd planned this. You've thought this through, Kiana observed. I always think things through. It's how I'm still alive. Tae-yang released her hand slowly. One more thing. You won't work at the cafe anymore. The translation work will more than compensate, and I need you available when necessary. You're asking me to quit my job? I'm asking you to accept a better one. Kiana's head spun. 12 hours ago, her biggest concern was making rent. Now she was sitting in a booth with a Mafia boss discussing employment terms like this was a normal Tuesday. This is insane, she muttered. Welcome to my world, Tae-yang said with dark amusement. Now go, Mrs. Park is watching, and I don't want her to think I'm keeping you from your tables. Kiana stood on shaky legs. Tomorrow, at 7. Don't be late. She walked away, feeling those dark eyes tracking her movement. At the bar, Tamara Johnson grabbed her arm. Girl, what the hell was that? Her co-worker hissed. You were sitting in Yoon Tae-yang's lap. Long story. He's dangerous, Kiana. Everyone knows. I know. Kiana watched Tae-yang through the dim lighting, saw him speaking with Hyunwoo in low, intense Korean. Even from here, his presence was magnetic. Believe me, I know. But when she got home that night and checked her bank account, she found a deposit for $5,000 with the memo, advance payment for translation services, first session tomorrow. Kiana stared at her phone screen for a long moment, then checked on Isaiah sleeping in his small bed, his beloved dinosaur books scattered around him. What did I get us into, baby? She whispered. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Sleep well, Kiana. Tomorrow changes everything. She should have been terrified. Instead, as she drifted off to sleep, all she could remember was the feeling of Tae-yang's hand on her waist and the dark promise in his eyes when he'd said her name. Tomorrow would indeed change everything. The address on the business card led Kiana and Isaiah to a sleek high-rise in Midtown Manhattan. The lobby alone was more luxurious than anywhere she'd ever lived, all marble floors and modern art. Mama, is this really where you're gonna work? Isaiah asked, his eyes wide as he clutched her hand. Sometimes, baby. The man I'll be working for is very successful. Is he nice? Kiana thought about dark eyes and dangerous smiles. I think so. We'll find out. The private elevator required a key card, which had been waiting for her at the front desk. It opened directly into a penthouse that stole Kiana's breath. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Manhattan skyline. The decor was minimalist but expensive. Black leather, dark wood, subtle Korean art pieces. And standing by those massive windows, silhouetted against the city lights, was Tae-yang. He turned as they entered, and Kiana's heart did that strange flip again. He wore dark slacks and a white button-down with the sleeves rolled to his elbows, revealing strong forearms and that delicate vertical Korean script tattoo on his neck. Less formal than last night, but no less commanding. Miss Davis, right on time. His eyes moved to Isaiah, and his expression softened almost imperceptibly. And this must be Isaiah. Isaiah pressed closer to his mother's side, suddenly shy. Tae-yang crouched to the boy's eye level, a gesture that surprised Kiana with its thoughtfulness. Hello, Isaiah. My name is Tae-yang. Your mother is going to help me with some important work. Has she told you about her language skills? Isaiah nodded slowly. Mama speaks 3 languages. She's really smart. She is, Tae-yang agreed, his eyes flicking briefly to Kiana's. Which is why I need her help. Sometimes I'll need her to work from here in the evenings. Would you be comfortable with that? Will she be safe? Isaiah asked. And Kiana's heart broke a little. Her son had learned too young to worry about safety. I promise you, Tae-yang said with absolute certainty, your mother will always be safe with me. And so will you. Something in his tone made Isaiah relax fractionally. Okay, good. Now, I have someone I want you to meet. Tae-yang stood and gestured toward a door. Hyunwoo. Lee Hyunwoo emerged, but he looked different than last night, less intimidating in jeans and a casual jacket, his expression open and friendly. Hey, Isaiah, your mum mentioned you like dinosaurs. Isaiah's eyes lit up. I love dinosaurs. No way. Me too. I've got this awesome documentary queued up in the other room about the latest T-Rex discoveries. Want to watch it while your mum and Mr. Yoon work? Isaiah looked to Kiana for permission. She nodded, still processing how carefully they'd orchestrated this to make her son feel comfortable. "Can I, Mama?" "Of course, baby." As Hyunwoo led Isaiah toward what appeared to be an entertainment room, the boy's chatter about his favorite dinosaurs faded. Kiana found herself alone with Taeyang, the city sprawling below them. "You're good with children," she observed. "I was a child once. I remember what it felt like to be small in a dangerous world." Taeyang moved to a bar cart and poured 2 glasses of wine. "Your son has old eyes. He's seen things he shouldn't have." Travis was... Kiana took the offered wine glass. "He was fine at first. Charming, even. By the time I realized what he really was, I was pregnant. I stayed too long trying to make it work. But you left eventually. That took courage. It took desperation." Kiana sipped the wine. "Expensive. Smooth. He broke my wrist when Isaiah was 2. That was my line." Taeyang's expression darkened. "Show me." Kiana set down her glass and extended her left arm. A slight crook remained where the bone had healed imperfectly. Taeyang's fingers traced it gently, and she shivered at the contact. "You never got it properly set. Couldn't afford it. The emergency room did what they could. It still causes pain? Sometimes. When it rains." Taeyang continued holding her wrist, his touch careful. "I have an orthopedic surgeon who owes me favors. We can have it rebroken and properly set." "That's not necessary." "Yes, it is." His eyes met hers, intense and uncompromising. "You work for me now. That means you're under my care. All of you, including old injuries that were never properly treated." The possessiveness in his tone should have alarmed her. Instead, it sent warmth through her chest. "Why are you being so kind to me?" Kiana asked softly. "Last night you said I caught your attention, but there must be dozens of servers who work in your territory. Why me?" Taeyang released her wrist slowly, picking up his own wineglass. "Do you want the truth?" "Always. I've been watching you for 6 weeks, since the first night you worked at Lotus Garden." Kiana's breath caught. 6 weeks. You were different. You never flinched when I entered, never tried to flirt or gain favor. You simply did your job with dignity and grace. You were kind to Mrs. Park when she burned herself on the stove. You stopped a drunk customer from harassing a younger server. You're the only person in that restaurant who doesn't treat me like a monster to be feared. Should I fear you? Probably. Taeyang's smile was dark. But you don't. Even now, alone with me in my apartment, you're not afraid. You should be. Are you planning to hurt me? No. Then what should I be afraid of? Taeyang moved closer, and Kiana's heart raced. He was tall. She had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. The city lights caught the angles of his face, making him look like something carved from shadow and danger. "You should be afraid of this," he said quietly. "Of whatever this is between us. Because I don't do complications, Kiana. I don't do relationships. My world doesn't allow for it. But you..." He lifted one hand, cupping her cheek the way he had last night. "You make me want to break my own rules." "I have a son," Kiana whispered. "He comes first. Always." "I know. It's one of the things I admire most about you. Your world is dangerous." "It is. I can't expose Isaiah to that." "You won't have to." Taeyang's thumb traced her cheekbone. "This stays separate. Your work, whatever this becomes. Isaiah stays innocent, protected. I swear it. You can't promise that. I can, and I do." His voice was steel wrapped in silk. "I've built an empire on keeping my word, Kiana. When I make a promise, I keep it." She should step back, create distance, but instead she found herself leaning into his touch. "This is crazy," she breathed. "Yes, I barely know you. You know enough. You know I protected you when I didn't have to. You know I'm careful with your son. You know I see you, really see you, in a way most people don't." It was true. All of it. "The translation work," Kiana said, trying to regain solid ground. "Is that real or just an excuse?" "It's real. I have contracts that need reviewing tonight." Taeyang stepped back, though his eyes remained heated. "But first we eat. I had dinner brought in, Korean and soul food. I wasn't sure what Isaiah would like." The thoughtfulness of it undid something in Kiana's chest. When was the last time someone had considered her needs, her son's preferences? Dinner was surprisingly normal. They sat at Taeyang's massive dining table. Kiana, Isaiah, Taeyang, and Hyunwoo, who turned out to be genuinely good with kids. Isaiah warmed up quickly, chattering about dinosaurs and his favorite books. Taeyang listened attentively, asking questions that showed real interest. When Isaiah accidentally knocked over his water, Taeyang cleaned it up before Kiana could even move, assuring the boy it was fine. You're good at this, Kiana said quietly, while Isaiah and Hyunwoo debated whether the T-Rex could beat a Spinosaurus. I had a younger brother once, Tae-yang said, something sad flickering across his features. He died when I was 16. He would have been Isaiah's age. I'm sorry. It was a long time ago, but it taught me that children are precious. They should be protected from the darkness adults create. After dinner, Hyunwoo took Isaiah back to the entertainment room, and Tae-yang led Kiana to his office. The space was all dark wood and leather, with 3 large monitors on the desk. These are the contracts, he said, pulling up documents. Korean to English. I need to know if there are any discrepancies between versions, anything that might indicate deception. Kiana settled into work mode, grateful for something concrete to focus on. As she read through the documents, translating and comparing versions, she became aware of Tae-yang watching her. Is something wrong? She asked. You're beautiful when you concentrate. Your brow furrows right here. He touched the spot between her eyebrows. I need to focus. Then I'll stop distracting you. But he didn't move away. 2 hours later, Kiana had found 3 significant discrepancies, one that would have cost Tae-yang's organization millions. His expression when she explained was impressed and dangerous in equal measure. The Lee family tried to cheat me, he said softly. What will you do? Renegotiate. With appropriate pressure. He saw her expression and added, No one will be physically harmed. I have other ways of applying leverage. I should get Isaiah home, it's late. My driver will take you. Tae-yang stood. Same time tomorrow? Tomorrow? I have more contracts, and I enjoy your company. Before Kiana could respond, Isaiah burst into the office, Hyunwoo trailing behind apologetically. Mama, Mr. Yoon has a telescope. Can we come back tomorrow? Please? Kiana looked at Tae-yang, who was watching Isaiah with that soft expression again. I think that can be arranged, Tae-yang said. In the car on the way home, Isaiah fell asleep against her shoulder, exhausted from excitement. Kiana's phone buzzed. Thank you for tonight. Sleep well. Both of you. She stared at the message, her thumb hovering over the reply button. Finally, she typed, Thank you for being kind to my son. His response came immediately. Thank you for trusting me with him. I don't take that lightly. As their building came into view, shabby and worn compared to where they'd just been, Kiana felt the weight of 2 worlds colliding. But when she carried Isaiah upstairs and tucked him into bed, she couldn't stop thinking about dark eyes and gentle hands and promises made in penthouses above the city. Her phone buzzed one more time. Sweet dreams, Kiana Davis. Tomorrow we'll talk about that crook in your wrist. She fell asleep with a smile on her face, not noticing the black SUV that parked across the street, keeping watch through the night. The next 3 weeks fell into a pattern. Kiana worked at Lotus Garden 3 nights a week and spent other evenings at Tae-yang's penthouse, translating documents while Isaiah befriended Hyunwoo and discovered Tae-yang's extensive collection of dinosaur books. Her wrist had been evaluated by Tae-yang's orthopedic surgeon, who scheduled the corrective surgery for next month. Her bank account, which had always hovered near empty, now held more money than she'd seen in her entire life. But more than the money or the security, it was the small moments that undid her. The way Tae-yang remembered how she took her coffee, how he'd had his chef prepare Korean versions of soul food dishes because he wanted to understand her culture better. The night he'd ordered obscure French poetry books because she'd mentioned missing them, the way he listened when she talked about her dreams of maybe one day finishing her degree. It was dangerous, this growing feeling in her chest. Tamara noticed. Girl, you're glowing lately. It's just nice to not worry about money, Kiana deflected. Mm-hmm. And it has nothing to do with the way Mr. Yoon watches you like you're the only person in the room. Tamara, I'm just saying, be careful. Men like that, they're not built for normal relationships. Kiana knew Tamara was right, but knowing didn't stop her heart from racing every time Tae-yang's hand brushed hers while reviewing documents. Didn't stop her from noticing how good he was with Isaiah, teaching him Korean words and patiently explaining his telescope. The crisis came on a Thursday. Kiana was at Lotus Garden for her evening shift when Hyunwoo appeared, his expression grim. You need to come with me now. What's wrong? Is it Tae-yang? He's fine, but there's a situation. Isaiah is safe. He's with the security detail at your apartment, but we need you. The drive to an unfamiliar warehouse district made Kiana's stomach twist. Hyunwoo led her inside a building that looked abandoned, but clearly wasn't. Armed men stood at every entrance. In the center of the main floor, Tai Yang stood facing three men in expensive suits. His expression was colder than she'd ever seen it. "Kiana," he said without turning around, "I need you to translate exactly what these men are saying. Don't soften anything." The three men were speaking in a dialect of Korean she'd heard before but never engaged with, the rough speech of the criminal underground. "Mr. Yoon," Kiana said carefully, "they're discussing a territory dispute. They claim you've been encroaching on their operations in Queens. What else?" She listened, her blood running cold. "They're threatening retaliation. They mention targeting people close to you, people who matter." One of the men noticed Kiana then, his eyes narrowing. He said something that made Tai Yang's jaw clench. "What did he say?" Tai Yang's voice was dangerously quiet. "He said you've gotten soft, that you're distracted by a woman and her bastard child." The temperature in the room dropped. Tai Yang moved so fast Kiana barely saw it. One moment he was standing beside her. The next he had the man who'd spoken against the wall, a hand around his throat. "Say that again," Tai Yang said in Korean, his voice like death. "About the woman and child. Say it again so I can justify what I'm about to do." Kiana's heart pounded. This was the man others feared, the monster beneath the careful control. "Tai Yang," she said softly. "Don't." He paused, not releasing the man but turning his head slightly toward her. "They're trying to provoke you," Kiana continued. "Everything they said is designed to make you lose control. Don't give them what they want. They threatened you and Isaiah, and they'll use your reaction against you, please." For a long moment nothing moved. Then Tai Yang released the man, who collapsed, gasping to the floor. "Tell them," Tai Yang said to Kiana, his eyes never leaving the three men, "that the woman and her son are under my protection. Anyone who touches them answers to me. And tell them if they ever speak of her again, there won't be enough pieces left to bury." Kiana translated, her voice steady despite her shaking hands. The three men paled and left quickly after stammering agreements. When they were gone, Tai Yang finally turned to Kiana. "Are you all right? Am I all right? You almost killed that man." "I wanted to, I still do." His hands clenched into fists. "When he spoke about you and Isaiah like that, I know. But you didn't. You controlled it. Because of you." Tai Yang stepped closer. "You make me better than I am. Softer. It's dangerous. That man was right. I'm a distraction, a weakness." "You're not a weakness." His voice was fierce. "You're the first thing I've wanted to protect more than I want power. Do you understand what that means?" Kiana's breath caught. "Tai Yang, I'm in love with you." The words fell between them like stones. "I've been fighting it for 3 weeks, telling myself it's just attraction, just interest. But when he threatened you, all I could think was that I'd burn this entire city down before I let anyone hurt you. You can't love me. We barely know each other. I know that you take your coffee with milk and 2 sugars. I know you hum when you're concentrating. I know you're learning Korean lullabies to sing to Isaiah, even though he's too old for them. I know you have nightmares about Travis, but you never complain. I know you're the strongest person I've ever met and the kindest and the most beautiful, and I can't—" He broke off, running a hand through his hair. "I can't stop thinking about you." Tears burned Kiana's eyes. "I have a son. I know. Your world is dangerous. I know that too. I can't be some passing fancy. I can't let Isaiah get attached to you and then— You think I haven't thought about this?" Tai Yang's voice rose. "You think I haven't considered every reason this is impossible, but none of it matters because I love you, and I want you and I need you to tell me if there's any chance you feel the same." "Of course I feel the same," Kiana whispered. "I'm terrified because I feel the same." The admission hung between them. Then Tai Yang was crossing the distance, his hands cupping her face, his forehead pressing against hers. "I will keep you safe," he breathed. "Both of you. I swear it on my life." "How? How can you promise that when men like those just threatened us? Because now everyone knows you're mine. That threat goes both ways. Anyone who touches you declares war on me. And I have never lost a war." The possessiveness in his tone should have scared her. Instead, it made her feel safer than she ever had. "This is crazy," she said again. "I know, but I need you to be brave for me. Can you do that?" Kiana thought about the past 6 years. About running from Travis. About working 3 jobs to keep a roof over Isaiah's head. About all the time she'd been brave because she had no choice. "I can be brave," she said, "but I need you to promise me something. Anything. If this becomes too dangerous for Isaiah, if your world threatens him, you let us go, no matter how you feel about me. His safety comes first." Pain flashed across Taiyang's features, but he nodded. His safety comes first. I promise. Okay. Kiana rose on her toes, her lips barely brushing his. Okay. Taiyang's control snapped. He kissed her like she was air and he was drowning, desperate and claiming, and devastatingly gentle all at once. His hands tangled in her hair, and she gripped his shirt, pulling him closer. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Taiyang pressed his forehead to hers again. Mine, he said softly. You're mine now, Kiana Davis. Yours, she agreed. But Taiyang, yes? Isaiah can't know yet. Not about us, not about any of this. He needs time. I understand. We'll take this slow, let him adjust. But as Hyun-woo drove Kiana home that night, she realized that nothing about this was slow. She'd fallen completely, irrevocably in love with a Mafia boss in less than a month. When she checked on Isaiah that night, her son stirred sleepily. Mama, I'm here, baby. Is Mr. Yoon your boyfriend now? Kiana's heart stopped. Why do you ask that? Because he looks at you the way Prince Charming looks at Cinderella in my book, and you smile more when you talk about him. Would that be okay? If he was. Isaiah considered this seriously. Is he gonna hurt us like Travis did? No, baby, never. Mr. Yoon would never hurt us. Then it's okay. I like him. He's teaching me Korean, and he promised to show me the constellation Draco next week. As Isaiah drifted back to sleep, Kiana's phone buzzed. Is he okay? He knows. About us. And? He likes you. Says you remind him of Prince Charming. There was a long pause then. I've been called many things. Prince Charming is a first. Sleep well, my Kiana. Tomorrow I want to take you somewhere. Just us. Kiana smiled into the darkness, but unease prickled at the back of her mind. Somewhere in the city, men who'd threatened her were plotting, and she had the terrible feeling that the worst was yet to come. The somewhere Taiyang wanted to take had turned out to be a private rooftop garden at sunrise. Kiana stood wrapped in one of his jackets, watching the city wake up below them. My mother used to bring me here, Taiyang said quietly, before she died. It was the only place in the city she felt at peace. How old were you when you lost her? 12. Cancer. My father... His jaw tightened. My father wasn't a good man. He built this empire on blood and fear. When he died, I inherited all of it. The power, the enemies, the weight. Is that why you're different from other men in your world? Because you remember what it cost? Maybe. Taiyang turned to face her. Or maybe it's because I've been waiting my whole life for someone to give me a reason to be different. Taiyang, I want to give you everything, Kiana. A real home for you and Isaiah. Security, safety. A life where you don't have to work yourself to exhaustion. I don't need everything, I just need you. You have me, but I need you to understand what that means. His expression grew serious. Those men yesterday, they're part of a larger problem. There's been tension brewing between organizations for months. It's going to come to a head soon. What does that mean for us? It means for a while you and Isaiah will need to stay somewhere safe, somewhere they can't find you. You want us to leave? Just temporarily, until I handle this. Kiana stepped back. You promised. You said if it became too dangerous. I'm not letting you go. I'm protecting you while I eliminate the threat. Taeyang's voice was firm. There's a difference. Not to me. Not to Isaiah. You're asking us to run again. I'm asking you to trust me. Give me 2 weeks to end this, then you come back and we build something real. Together. Kiana wanted to argue, but the determination in his eyes told her this wasn't negotiable. Where would we go? I have a house upstate, security, staff, everything Isaiah could need. You'll be comfortable. And you'll be here, in danger. This is my world, Kiana. Danger comes with the territory. That's not good enough. Kiana's voice rose. You can't ask me to love you and then ask me to just sit safe somewhere while you risk your life. I can, and I am. Because you loving me means you're a target. Every enemy I have will try to use you against me. The only way to protect you is to keep you hidden until the threat is neutralized. What if you don't come back? Taeyang pulled her against him, his hand cradling the back of her head. I will always come back to you. Always. You can't promise that. Watch me. He tilted her face up, his eyes blazing. I have survived wars, betrayals, assassination attempts. I have built an empire through sheer will. You think I'm going to let anything stop me from getting back to you and Isaiah? Nothing in this world is strong enough. His certainty should have been arrogant. Instead, it was comforting. 2 weeks, Kiana whispered. Not a day longer. Not a day longer. They left the city that afternoon. Hyunwoo drove them personally, and the house turned out to be a sprawling estate surrounded by woods. Isaiah was thrilled with the space to run and explore, oblivious to the armed guards patrolling the perimeter. "It's like a vacation, Mama," he said, racing through rooms. "Sort of like that, baby." That night, after Isaiah was asleep, Kiana found Tae-yang in the study. He was on his phone, speaking rapid Korean that even she struggled to follow. When he finished, he held out his hand. She took it, letting him pull her onto his lap in the leather chair. "Tell me this is the right thing," she said. "This is the right thing, the only thing." His fingers traced patterns on her back. "When this is over, I want to do things properly. Take you on dates. Let Isaiah see us together without danger hanging over our heads. Build a life." "What kind of life can we build? You're still who you are. Your world doesn't just disappear." "No, but I can step back from the worst of it. Let Hyunwoo handle more. Focus on legitimate businesses." He paused. "I never wanted this life, Kiana. It was chosen for me. But you I choose. Every day I choose you. I love you," Kiana said softly, "even though I probably shouldn't. I love you more, even though I definitely shouldn't." They stayed like that for a long time, holding each other as if they could stop time. The next 2 weeks were torture. Kiana worked remotely on translations while Isaiah attended a small local school. Security guards shadowed them everywhere. News filtered through from Hyunwoo, talks between organizations, territory being renegotiated, alliances shifting. Then, on day 13, the calls stopped. Kiana tried Tae-yang's number. Nothing. Hyunwoo's number. Nothing. Even the secure line went to voicemail. Panic clawed at her throat. Something had gone wrong. She was pacing the living room, phone clutched in white-knuckled hands, when the front door opened. Kiana spun, hope and fear warring in her chest. Tae-yang stood in the doorway. He looked exhausted, shadows under his eyes, his shirt wrinkled, a bandage visible on his forearm. But he was alive. He was here. "You're late," Kiana said, her voice breaking. "You promised 2 weeks. It's been 13 days. I finished early." Tae-yang's smile was tired but genuine. "Couldn't stay away from you another minute." Kiana flew across the room, throwing her arms around him. He caught her, holding her so tightly she could barely breathe. "Don't ever do that again," she said fiercely. "Don't ever go silent like that. I know, I'm sorry. The final negotiation was delicate, no phones allowed. But it's done, Kiana. The territories are settled. The threats against you have been formally retracted. You're safe. And you, are you safe?" "Safe enough. There's always risk in my world, but significantly less now." She pulled back to look at him. "Your arm. A disagreement with someone who didn't want to negotiate. He's no longer a problem." The casual way he said it should have disturbed her. Instead, she just felt grateful he was alive. "Isaiah's asleep upstairs. He missed you." "I missed him. And you." Tae-yang's hand cupped her cheek. "Can we talk? There's something I need to ask you." They moved to the study and Tae-yang pulled a small box from his jacket pocket. Kiana's heart stopped. "I'm not proposing," he said quickly, seeing her expression. "Not yet. Not until we've had time to build this properly. But I want you to have this." He opened the box to reveal a delicate necklace, a pendant with Korean characters she recognized. "It says, 'Protected,'" she whispered. "In my world, this symbol means you're under the protection of the Yoon family. No one touches you, ever. I want you to wear it. Tae-yang, not as my property, as my partner, as the woman I love who deserves to feel safe." His voice was raw with emotion. "I can't erase the danger of my world, but I can make damn sure everyone knows that hurting you means facing me." Kiana turned, letting him fasten the necklace. The pendant rested against her heart, warm from his hands. "When we get back to the city," Tae-yang continued, "I want to find you and Isaiah a proper apartment, a home, somewhere safe where he can have his own room and you can have space to breathe. I can't let you—" "I'm not asking. You work for me. You deserve compensation that includes appropriate housing." He smiled slightly. "And I want to be able to visit my girlfriend without climbing 4 flights of stairs to a studio apartment." "Girlfriend?" Kiana repeated, testing the word. "Is that what I am?" "You're everything. The girlfriend label is just the beginning." He pulled her close again. "When Isaiah's ready, when we've built something stable, I'll ask you properly, with a ring and everything traditional. But for now, this is enough," Kiana finished. "More than enough." A sound from the doorway made them both turn. Isaiah stood there, rubbing his eyes sleepily. "Mr. Yoon, you came back." Tae-yang's entire expression softened. Of course I did. I promised, didn't I? Isaiah ran to him and Tae-yang scooped him up without hesitation. Did you protect my mama? I did, and I always will. Both of you. Isaiah wrapped his arms around Tae-yang's neck. Are you going to be my new dad? Kiana's breath caught. Tae-yang's eyes met hers over Isaiah's head, asking permission. She nodded slowly. Would you like that? Tae-yang asked carefully. For me to be part of your family? Yeah. You're nice, and you're teaching me Korean, and you don't yell, and you make mama happy. Your mama makes me happy too, happier than I've ever been. Then you should stay, Isaiah said with the simple logic of childhood. Happy people should stay together. You're absolutely right, Tae-yang agreed, his voice thick with emotion. Happy people should stay together. That night, after Isaiah had fallen back asleep, this time in Tae-yang's arms, as they watched constellation videos, Kiana stood on the balcony looking at the stars. Tae-yang joined her, wrapping his arms around her from behind. I meant what I said, he murmured against her hair. I'm stepping back from the worst of the business. Yunwoo will handle enforcement. I'll focus on legitimate operations. For you, for Isaiah, for the life we're going to build. Can you really walk away from that world? I'm not walking away, I'm just redefining my role. I'll still be who I am, but I'll be a better version. The version that deserves you. Kiana turned in his arms. You already deserve me. You saved me, protected me, loved my son. You've been everything I never knew I needed. Then marry me. You said you weren't proposing yet. I lied. I can't wait. Marry me, Kiana Davis. Make me the happiest man alive. Let me give you and Isaiah everything you deserve. Let me wake up next to you every morning and go to sleep with you every night. Let me be the man who gets to love you for the rest of our lives. Tears streamed down Kiana's face. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. Tae-yang kissed her under the stars, and for the first time in her life, Kiana felt truly, completely safe. When they returned to the city 3 days later, everything had changed. The threats were gone, the danger had receded, and Kiana Davis, the struggling single mother who'd once sat on a Mafia boss's lap to avoid being recognized, was now engaged to the most powerful man in Koreatown. What do we tell people? She asked, as they drove through familiar streets. The truth, Tae-yang said simply, that I fell in love with the bravest, most beautiful woman I've ever met. That she gave me a reason to be better. That she and her son are my family now. People will talk. Let them. He raised her hand to his lips, kissing the new engagement ring on her finger. I spent my whole life caring what people thought, but you've taught me that the only opinions that matter are the ones from people we love. Isaiah, sitting in the back seat surrounded by new books and toys, piped up, Does this mean we get to live in the big apartment with the telescope? Tae-yang met Kiana's eyes in the rearview mirror. Would you like that? Only if Mama says yes, Isaiah said seriously. Because happy people should stay together, remember? I remember, Tae-yang said softly. And yes, Isaiah, we're all staying together. As the city skyline came into view, Kiana realized that sometimes the most dangerous risks led to the most beautiful rewards. She'd gambled everything when she sat on Yoon Tae-yang's lap that first night, and she'd won a love worth more than all the safety in the world. 6 months later, the wedding was small, intimate, just family and close friends. Tamara stood as Kiana's maid of honor, crying through the entire ceremony. Hyun-woo was Tae-yang's best man, looking surprisingly emotional for someone who dealt with criminals for a living. But it was Isaiah who stole the show, walking his mother down the aisle with his head held high. At the altar, he placed Kiana's hand in Tae-yang's with ceremonial seriousness. You better be nice to her, he whispered loudly, or I'll tell Uncle Hyun-woo. The gathering laughed, and Tae-yang crouched to Isaiah's level. I promise to be nice to her every single day. And to you too. Deal? Deal. Isaiah hugged him quickly before taking his seat in the front row. When the officiant pronounced them married, Tae-yang kissed Kiana like she was the air he needed to survive. The pendant he'd given her months ago gleamed at her throat, but today it was joined by a matching one for Isaiah. Protection and family, forever bound. The reception was held in the penthouse where they'd first really talked. The space had been transformed with flowers and lights, but it was still unmistakably theirs, the home they were building together. Mrs. Yoon, Tae-yang murmured as they danced. How does it feel? Like I'm dreaming. Like any moment I'll wake up back in that studio apartment. You're not dreaming. This is real. You're mine. I'm yours. Isaiah is ours. This is our life now. Kiana looked across the room to where Isaiah was showing Tamara some new Korean phrases he'd learned. Her son was thriving, confident, happy, safe. "I love you," she said simply. "I love you more," Taeyang replied. "Thank you." "For what?" "For being brave enough to sit on a stranger's lap when you were scared. For trusting me with your heart. For giving me a family when I thought I'd always be alone. Thank you for whispering those words that made my heart stop," Kiana countered. "For keeping your promises. For loving my son like he's yours. He is mine. You both are. My family. My heart. My everything." As the night wore on and Isaiah fell asleep on one of the couches, Uncle Hyunwoo's jacket draped over him like a blanket, Kiana and Taeyang stood by the windows overlooking the city. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Choosing this life over the power and fear?" "Never. I'd choose you 1,000 times over in every lifetime." Taeyang's arms wrapped around her. "You gave me something more valuable than any empire. You gave me hope, a future, love. You gave me safety, a home, a partner. We gave each other everything." He kissed her temple. "And this is just the beginning." Below them, the city glittered with possibility. Somewhere out there, someone else might be scared, desperate, making a choice that would change their life. But up here, wrapped in her husband's arms with her son sleeping peacefully nearby, Kiana knew she'd made the right choice. Sometimes the most dangerous gambles lead to the greatest rewards. And sometimes sitting on a Mafia boss's lap is exactly where you're supposed to be.